Welcome to the Modern Mindset Podcast. I'm your host, Josh Giordani. Today, I have a very special guest with me today, a construction background, ADU, development, investment, all the above. My friend, JC, welcome.
Josh, thanks for having me, man.
Of course, brother. Yeah, me too. Long time coming. I know we talked about this actually like 3 weeks ago.
Yeah.
So glad I was able to get you in before I was leaving for my wedding.
Yeah, I know, right? Thanks for squeezing me in.
Of course.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit. I know you from other investment companies, and you've recently branched off and started now 3 different companies. Mm-hmm. But you and I haven't really had a chance to like connect in terms of where'd you grow up? How'd you get started? Where construction came from and your evolution of where you're at today? So tell me a little bit about that.
So I was born and raised in Central California, came out here to go to San Diego State to play football. So that was 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. So haven't moved since, I'm still here. As a kid, I always loved architecture. I wanted to be an architect as a kid. Never happened, kind of bounced around, started a couple businesses. 7, 8 years ago, I started a real estate development company with a partner of mine, and we were doing resorts and hotels in Central America. So built, I think it was a total of 7 hotels / resorts in Costa Rica, Panama, Belize, and the Bahamas.
That's right.
So I did that for 5 years. Then I met my wife, and she's like, if this is going to work, you can't be away 3 weeks out of the month. So I had to kind of pivot there. Sold my equity in the business and then partnered with Brian Daly. Mm-hmm. We started a real estate investment company and a construction company. Our big focus was flips. We were doing anywhere from 8 to 10 on average a month. Mm-hmm. So yeah, construction has always been part of like my life. Mm-hmm. My uncle is a contractor in Central California. My dad almost became a contractor. He loves construction, built an addition at our house, unpermitted, but he did a good job. So I've always been around it as a kid. I love construction, but I also love investing and building something from nothing. So my biggest passion is, seeing an old house or a piece of dirt with nothing on it and thinking of creative ways to build a structure there, right?
And how to transform the space.
Yeah, exactly. I love that.
Yeah.
I love that. So when we were flipping houses, going into an old house, I love just kind of visualizing what it would look like when the final product was done.
When you guys were doing the flipping, were you doing the like design aspect of it, or were you guys having like a third party come out and do the design, moving walls, coming up with the plan, doing all that?
Yeah, we all had a role in that. Mm-hmm. Like I would, tell my partners and project managers, hey, let's do this, let's do that, let's add this design aspect, or let's do this to the wall. But ultimately, we had a designer that would make our vision a reality, right? We worked with Melanie. Yeah. And then eventually, we kind of just did it in-house.
Sure.
But yeah, Melanie played a big part in what we did.
It definitely streamlines the process, right? Going into a flip and like looking at the space, or going into a project, right? That's like a blank canvas. Maybe you need to pull down walls and whatever it is, open up the floor plan, however that looks, or a bathroom, right? Maybe there's a 5-bedroom and the master needs to get opened up to make it bigger. Like sometimes it's hard, for me at least, not having a construction background, to visualize any of that. So having Melanie is huge.
Yeah, Melanie has an amazing kind of design aspect. I love working with her, but sometimes from a construction background, you got to understand like, okay, that's going to cost too much, or maybe let's not do that. Let's do this instead. So, but it's good having Melanie there, or any designer. Mm-hmm. And then if you have a construction background, it allows you to kind of find a happy medium, right? Something that brings value to the property, but at the same time doesn't cost you a lot of money.
Sure. Yeah. So now with your guys' space, I know your big focus has been ADUs. Mm-hmm. So talk me through, are you doing ADUs just for typical homeowners, or are you doing ADUs for investors? What is that? Because I know now with like TPA, the transit priority areas, with adding ADUs and doing development stuff is huge right now with different zonings. So what is your main focus, or what are you seeing the majority of that coming from?
So both. So we get a lot of clients that are homeowners, and they want to add a unit or two, right? And then we have a lot of clients that are actual investors. Mm-hmm. I would say right now the majority are homeowners that are just adding, one ADU in the back, or converting their garage. But over the last few months, we're getting a lot of investors, a lot of repeat clients. And then we're also doing some of our own stuff as well. So
Right.
a little bit of everything.
It's interesting because I feel like with average rates in San Diego right now, you're almost able to pull off like the 1% rule with the cost of what the ADUs are costing. Not quite there, but you can get fairly close to that 1% rule with doing, a studio or a full 1 bedroom as an ADU. So as an investment for San Diego, it's pretty huge, right? And maybe even other areas. I don't know if a lot of other markets are doing the ADU builds, but with how high rent is and how expensive it is for people to buy and the lack of rentals, it makes it a lot easier and more affordable for people to build ADUs and then have them rented out.
Yeah. I mean, I know a couple of investors that want to add an ADU to their investment, right? So sometimes it might not pencil as a regular flip,
Sure.
but it might pencil if you add an ADU or if you convert the garage. So I'm seeing a lot of that now. We're also seeing a lot of opportunity in LA. So there's a lot of clients and investors that I know in that market that are coming to us now to build something there. But yeah, I mean, it's a lot of flips. A lot of people that I know that are doing flips are trying to add ADUs to their investment.
Are you seeing, and maybe you don't know the answer to this, but are you seeing a typical homeowner using financing in terms of a HELOC or a cash out, or are they using their own money to build these out?
Surprisingly, a lot of them are using their own money.
Okay, I was
So
curious.
a lot of homeowners are sitting on money. I've only had a couple of clients that are getting like an actual loan from a lender or or a HELOC. Most of them are sitting on money. I don't know if it's on the stock market, wherever it is, or what vehicle they're using, but a lot of them just have cash ready to go. So obviously, from our standpoint, it makes it a lot easy because we don't have to do construction draws or wait months until they secure their financing. They're just sitting on money, which makes our job a lot easier.
Right. Let's talk about the permitting process. You guys have relationships with certain cities and municipalities that help you guys maybe push the envelope through a little quicker. Are there what's the process like? So if I call you and I'm like, hey JC, come to my house, I'm looking to build an ADU. What can I build here? How big? All of that. What would that look like?
Yeah, so it depends on the city, right? So City of San Diego is taking a while right now.
Okay.
Anywhere from 6 to 8 months, maybe longer. It depends on what you're doing to the property, how many units you're adding. But other municipalities are taking less time. So Oceanside, Carlsbad, they're typically a little faster than the City of San Diego. But yes, we have relationships with people in the city. We ourselves do not design ADUs. We don't help clients with the permitting process, only if we absolutely have to. So we do have a couple of contacts that can potentially, move it through the city faster.
Sure.
But we typically don't get involved in that unless we have to.
So is it typically an architect who's doing that? So when you're going on the appointment, are you bringing an architect with you once you guys kind of go together with pricing and what it's going to cost and all of that?
So we have a couple of design groups or architects that we send our projects to. So I get requests probably 2-3 times a week.
Sure.
Clients, friends that have me go to their house to see how many units they can do and where, and they ask me a ton of questions.
Sure.
Right? So when they're ready, I put them in contact with some of my architects or design groups, and then they do the permitting process.
Gotcha.
So they have permit runners, or they outsource that part of the process to companies that just focus on that, because there's companies that all they do is push permits through the city.
Sure.
That's their business.
Right. So what is a typical cost for an architect or for someone to get permits to build an ADU?
Anywhere from $8,000 to $20,000.
Okay.
Yeah, it just depends on what they're building. It depends on the company. Sometimes they do a lot of hand holding throughout the whole process. So there's companies that do it all for you, and they're the ones that charge 15 to 20. But if it's a small one-man architect, like a small shop, they'll charge less.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay, and that would be including permit fees too, or just the architecture?
Just the architecture fees.
Okay,
Yeah.
interesting.
So that includes, so that number includes architectural fees, MEP fees, any kind of soft costs, and then the permitting cost is separate.
Cool. Okay,
Yeah.
makes sense. What are like the most frequently asked questions? Like when you go on an appointment, what are they always asking you? The ones that stand
Cost
out.
per square foot.
Of course,
That's
yeah.
the first question, yeah.
And what are you seeing with cost per square foot? I know this is rough based on like different areas and what
Yeah.
size.
So for us, I mean, there's companies that have been in the business for 20 plus years that charge $400 or more, even up to $500 a square foot. But then there's small companies that charge $250, $275 a square foot. We want to deliver a good experience to the client. We, have a process and a client journey map. So we are trying to change a perspective that people have when they deal with construction companies, because
Sure.
you can talk to anybody and they have a bad story.
Right.
So we're trying to change that narrative.
Gotcha.
But at the same time, we want to do that without charging them a lot of money. So our hard costs as a company are relatively low, I would say, compared to others. But we're also trying to, provide an affordable cost.
Gotcha.
So for us, to answer your question, roughly it's $315 a square foot.
Okay.
That doesn't include any extras that property might need, like a retaining wall, or sometimes clients want a vinyl fence or pavers or any hardscape. So the $315 per square foot is just like the basic cost to build ADU.
Right. You and I were talking to switch kind of, well, it's still on the ADU topic, development stuff, but you and I were talking when we had coffee the other day about like TPA, the transit priority. I always get that mixed up, tongue twister. Transit priority area. What are some of like the main zoning areas that are like prime time that you're like, hey, this is gold. This is definitely one that we need to pursue. Like, let's say I was like, hey, JC, here's a property. What kind of zoning would you want to see?
So anything in the TPA zone, I jump on right away. Because depending on the floor to area ratio, you can build multiple units.
Sure.
So as an investor, developer, I want to add as many units as possible. I get sent deals where you can do 1 to 2, and if it's a good deal, I'll look at it, I'll consider it. But anything in that TPA zone, especially if it has like if the base zoning is like RM, multifamily, then that's even better. But any property, regardless of the base zoning, if it's in the TPA zone, I look at immediately, because there's a high chance that I can add a lot of units to that property.
Sure. What are some examples of like some stuff that you guys, I know like last year I was looking at one that Brian had that, I don't know, were you involved in some of the ones from last year?
Yeah.
Okay. A lot of those were like RS 3-7, right? Or RS 17?
RS 17.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I know you guys there was like a duplex, I think, that I walked that Andrew Greer did like his little scheduling, and you guys could do like 36 units or something crazy like that.
Oh, you saw that one on
Yeah.
Imperial Avenue?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so last I heard, I think we were going to add 30-something units. I think they scaled it down to 20-something.
Okay.
But that was I want to say that was RS17,
RS17,
and
okay.
it was in a TPA zone, and it was a 7,000 square foot lot, flat lot, which is ideal to build on. Anything that is not flat, you got to add cost to that
Sure.
for grading and whatnot. And then it had an alley access, so that property was ideal. And I didn't invest in that property, but Brian's moving forward with that.
Yeah.
I think they're close to breaking ground here soon.
Those things are like, it's just crazy that I just started hearing about this over the last like year, but it's been going on. I mean, like Andrew was supposed to come after this, but he has a stomach bug to record a podcast episode. But he's been doing this for a long time before I even knew what the TPA zones were.
Yeah.
And so all this has been kind of new and refreshing to me, where I'm like, that's why when we were talking, I was like, man, this shit's badass.
Yeah.
Like I want to jump full on head first and see if we can find one of these where I can do, a bigger project. I don't know about 30 units, but
Yeah, that's big.
yeah.
There's also a new zoning law that passed earlier this year. It's called the SDA zone. So it's Sustainable Development Area, which is very similar to TPA. Not super duper familiar with it quite yet.
Okay.
But I believe it gives you the same ability to add multiple unlimited ADUs like the TPA zoning does.
Interesting.
So that was the biggest reason why I decided to start my own company, is because that's what I was doing before flips, right? Development projects.
Right.
And that's kind of where my passion is.
Sure.
I want to, add units to my portfolio. So I don't foresee this ADU kind of space that we're playing in now to be here for a long time. It's always going to be there, but I think eventually the city and the state are going to scale it back.
Do you think
I don't know how long it's going to take, but I think it's going to happen eventually because
do you think just more regulation will happen, or because right now, I mean, like Alfred, he lives in North Park. Like you can't find parking in most of those areas, right? Like you're able to build in some of these CPA zones with no parking requirements, even if you're building 20 or 30 units.
Yeah.
And there's no street parking, right? So you're having to walk a long way or go park down the street. So I could see like regulations getting around having to do parking, which will limit the amount of units where things aren't going to pencil the same way that they used to. But
yeah, I don't know. I just don't foresee this being the way it is for a long time.
Sure.
I mean, I know the city and the state, they're pro ADUs right now. They're trying to kind of attack the housing shortage.
Mm-hmm.
But again, once they see that it's starting to get under control, and people start complaining. I mean, you saw SBS 9 didn't pass. You know,
Right.
people don't like ADUs. I'm part of multiple groups on Facebook, and there's a lot of people that don't want mini dorms or mini developments, you know, on their block, you know, right next door to their property. So as this takes off even more, I just see a lot of pushback in the future. So that's the biggest reason why I want to jump on this now in that way. I just see that this is a window that's not going to last forever.
Sure.
Yeah.
So is your goals like what are your goals for the next few years? Or I know you want to do some of your own projects, your own flips, your own investments. What does that look like?
Yeah, I mean, luckily right now I have a network and you know, friends that I've known over the years that are sending me a lot of business, right? So the idea is to build fabric. So it's one of the bigger players when it comes to ADU construction in San Diego. You know, we want to help as many clients as possible, deliver a good product. You know, we're big on doing what is right always. We don't cut corners when we're building ADUs like other, you know, general contractors. So we want to deliver amazing product, well-built ADUs, help the city with the housing crisis. But at the same time, you know, I want to take advantage of this opportunity and do my own development projects and do a flip here and there. I get sent opportunities from time to time, so I want to do a couple flips a year of my own. And then I have the team to do renovations. So if a friend of mine or, you know, another investor wants to do some or needs help with the renovation for their flip, why not? You know, we have the teams and the ability to do that. But my biggest goal, to answer your question, is just to add doors to my portfolio.
Yeah.
That's always been my goal as a kid. My dad, for a while, had a lot of properties. My uncle as well, here in the U.S. and in Mexico. So I want to be able to, you know, just add doors to my portfolio every year.
Are you a dual citizen?
No.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, I was like, I've been looking to. I would love to buy a place in Cabo eventually.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was born here. My parents were born in Mexico, but I was born in Central California. I want to get my dual citizenship as well.
Yeah, because you can get like the actual financing there instead of having to do hard money or creative stuff.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I want to buy some stuff in Cabo, Rosarito, Valle de Guadalupe, which is by Ensenada. Yeah, I want to buy something there soon.
My a realtor friend of mine, her and her husband, they had the dual citizenship, and they bought a place in Valle de Guadalupe 2 years ago. And I was just talking to her. I was like, "Oh, did you finance it? How did that work?" And I think she told me, she was like, "Yeah, we got like a 4.5% interest rate, and we bought this place in Valle for like $250,000." And I'm like, "Wait, what? 4% interest rate, $250,000? Where'd you find that?" She's like, "I don't know, but we're like crushing it on Airbnb right now."
Yes.
And like their place is rented out all the time.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's like a seasonal thing in terms of like after COVID, because I know we traveled to Valle a ton during COVID. And like even Palm Springs, like our Airbnb in Palm Springs is not doing great. No. So I'm kind of curious how like some of those other markets like Valle or other areas that were like very popular during COVID, how they're gonna do maybe coming out like the next couple of years. So I don't know, we'll see.
Yeah,
I still love it out there though.
Yeah, no, it's amazing.
Yeah.
I love wine. My wife's Italian, so she has a glass or two or more a day.
Yeah.
So we love going to Valle.
Yeah.
It's just a special place,
It is,
man.
yeah.
So we go there a lot, and I have a couple of buddies who have Airbnbs in Valle, and then we went like 2 years ago, stayed at an Airbnb. The host and I became close friends because I used her place like 4 times, and she tells me she's busy year round.
That's awesome.
Even now. So I want to buy a property there, Airbnb it, use it when we go, but when we're not, Airbnb it.
Yeah.
Again, I don't know the data and,
Sure.
and all the analytics, but I heard people are crushing it there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Have you ever gone to the Food and Wine Festival there?
No.
Dude, it's
I missed
badass.
it. You gone?
Oh yeah,
Really?
it's so fun. So my one of our good friends has his fiance has or fiance, yeah, right. His girlfriend has an Instagram for Vi, and she like tons of followers and gets invited out. So we got like VIP passes that they just gave us for free.
Really?
So like food, like you're just going. All
Yeah.
these chefs from across the country are going there, and people that were on like the Food Network and all of those critics are there too.
Really?
So pretty fun. Definitely worth going
Dude,
if you can
when's
go.
the next one?
I don't know. I haven't gone. We went during COVID.
Okay. Dude, I want to go.
Yeah, it was honestly one of the funnest experiences we've had because we're big foodies. Both all love
Yeah.
wine, cocktails, and all
Yeah.
that stuff. Food there is incredible.
Yeah, the restaurants there are awesome. My favorite place to eat, the favorite restaurant that I've been to there is called Deckman's.
Yep, Deckman's is
Did you
good.
go?
Yeah, hmm
Dude, awesome.
we went to 6 in one day.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
6 restaurants in a day?
Six restaurants in one
Oh
day.
my God. Was it part of a tour or no?
No, so we just hired a driver.
Okay.
And it was me and another couple, and we just did wine tasting at a bunch of spots, ordered appetizers at every spot. We went to Anna Malone, Deckman, and then had like dinner plans basically every night. But yeah, always
Nice,
have a
man.
great time when we're there.
That's
The only
awesome,
thing about the wine is it definitely hurts in the morning more than I think other wines do.
Yeah. I know. I for a little bit, I don't know what was wrong with me, but every time I had a glass of wine, even if it was half a glass, I would be hungover the next day.
Oh yeah.
The last 6 months, I've been drinking more and I'm not hungover
Maybe
anymore.
maybe your tolerance is just higher now.
I don't know, yeah, could be.
Yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah, it's definitely a fun spot. Those areas, I have a buddy who buys in Cabo too, and his Airbnbs are doing decent there too.
Really?
But those are, I don't know if that was like a COVID popular destination because Mexico was shut down, fairly shut down.
Yeah, yeah.
I think a lot of people were traveling to like our Palm Springs place. We finally got it rented out for the second time, but it's a high end place. So we were expecting rents to be closer to that $9,000-$10,000 a month in terms of Airbnb, and we're getting like maybe $6,000.
Really?
So I think with this shift of wherever our economy is going is definitely hitting us a little bit more than what we expected in terms of what we're going to get. But it's also an experience. I wasn't going to listen to people saying that like the Airbnb market was going to crush. I wanted to experience it myself and kind of figure out if I like Airbnbs, and if I don't, I can always sell it because I bought it as a flip. So
Yeah, you had 2 exit strategies, right? Which
Yeah.
is good.
yeah,
Yeah, it's hard to kind of pinpoint why some Airbnbs do well and some don't.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I'm a 45% owner of an Airbnb in University Heights.
Mm-hmm.
Or no, I'm sorry, University City. And it's not doing well. We had a management company who we thought was going to do great, and they did not do a good job. So we're trying to figure out like why that was. It's in a beautiful location, beautiful house with amazing views, but not performing well over the last year. The last few months, 3 months, has been doing better, but the first year and a half, it did not do well at all. We actually lost money. I'm a partner in another Airbnb in El Cajon, close to like Alpine. It's in the middle of nowhere, and we added a ton of amenities. I mean, we have a soccer court, like
pretty cool.
volleyball court, pickleball, little putting green, bunch of amenities, and that one's doing pretty good. I don't know if this is true, but I think the more amenities you have, the better, obviously.
sure.
And it's a big house, so people rent it and have events and baby showers and all sorts of different gatherings. But that one's doing better, and my assumption is because of the the various amenities that we have. Whereas the one in University City doesn't have a lot of amenities. It's a nice house, it's big, but there's only so much you can do there.
Right. Yeah, and ours, like it's just a really nice house. But yeah, we had a pool and like a putting green. But like when you're going to Palm Springs, the problem is too is that they had all these new regulations where now you can only have 25% occupancy in one specific community. So until you get your license, we're limited to 30 days. So we're doing 30-day rentals. So it's like we're getting rented out to people that are like artists. Like the last one was an artist. The new one's like a family coming in town. So it's just a different demographic. If we were able to rent it out on the weekends and stuff, that's a big difference, right? We're probably getting $800-900 a night, especially when there's all these events that are always going on out there. So, but like I said, we wanted to experience it for ourselves, and if it doesn't work, we can always go sell it. Yeah.
Good.
Yeah. We got a good deal on it. So
Cool.
we'll see. Hopefully the market doesn't adjust too much.
Awesome, man.
Yeah.
Well, hey, we're thinking about going into Palm Springs, so maybe I can use your spot.
It's rented out actually until February, which
is it?
Thank God.
Oh, okay, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Good for you.
What else do you have going on? I know you have a business partner too. How'd you guys connect? How'd you guys meet?
Yeah, so Dylan, good friend of mine, obviously, love the guy. I actually met him through a former colleague of mine at one of his birthday parties at his house. So we hit it off. He kind of came up to me and was asking me questions about real estate. We ended up talking for like 2 hours that night. And then my former colleague had another party a couple months later, and I saw him there again. And we just kind of stayed in touch ever since. Dylan has a background in software. He's started a few companies of his own. Actually, one of them was recently acquired by a private equity firm, I think it was,
nice.
for like $100 million, I believe.
Holy shit.
So he was like employee number 4 in that business. So he has a background in operations, software, technology. He's really good with people, really good with systematizing a business.
Right.
So he's kind of the guy running the business on the back end.
Nice.
I'm out there trying to find new deals and doing marketing and finance and all that stuff. But no, Dylan and I are a great team.
That's good. Yeah, you almost need to have like the opposite sides of the spectrum when it comes to like running a business, right? Like the back end stuff is stuff that I'm not good at all. And so hiring for those roles to make sure those things are getting taken care of, well, you can go out and do the things that you like to do that you're good at. So it's always good to have partnerships that are like that.
Yeah, no, exactly. So I've always been good at operations and doing the back end stuff. I've always been the number 2 in the last 4 businesses that I've been a part of. So I thought I was really good at that. I mean, I still am, but Dylan is better than me at that stuff. I mean, he's so efficient with his time, knows how to, focus on the most important things, doesn't waste any time. So he's, an amazing partner, and lucky to have him by my side.
That's great, man.
Yeah.
It's exciting. Anything new that you guys are working on?
No, I mean, right now our business is 7 months old. So we're just trying to, systematize it and hire the right people. We have, staff and colleagues that are here local, but we also have team members that are in other countries. So we're just, trying to systematize the business. Once we feel like it's kind of running on its own, then we're going to focus on doing our own development projects, doing some flips here and there. But him and I have aspirations of doing other businesses also outside of, real estate and construction. The reason why him and I work so well is because we're very aligned in our long-term vision, short-term vision, values. I mean, everything is super aligned between him and I. Right now, priority number 1 is to stabilize the business. There's thousands of ADU applications submitted every single year in San Diego, and we want to, grab
a big percentage
market share of that as much as possible. Once we feel like, we've established the business, then I want to start to kind of focus on other things.
Yeah. You said 7 months, but you also have been doing the same thing for a really long time. So yes, this new venture isn't necessarily new, but your own, which is your baby, which is fun.
Yeah.
So for anyone listening, he's not new at this. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah. I've been at this for a long time.
Yeah.
So it's luckily enough, a lot of the processes and things that I've had in place before and stuff that's in my head, it's easy to implement because I've done it for years.
Right.
But with any new business, there's a lot of details and intricacies that you just got to sort out.
Yeah. And as you grow, you're going to find new bottlenecks that you need to solve and be a problem solver, constantly learning, adapting, evolving.
I'm not the greatest, to be honest, at delegating. Dylan is really good at delegating. So I've naturally been a hard worker and the kind of guy that just says, give it to me, I'll get it done.
Sure.
So sometimes I'm a bottleneck. So I'm trying to prevent myself from being that because we have a team now. So every morning Dylan and I get together and we're like, okay, what's on your list? What's on my list? Okay, let's delegate all these things and focus on the most important things. So that's one of the things I'm trying to get better at.
That's good.
So luckily we have a good team, and luckily Dylan's there to help me delegate as much as possible.
Yeah, it's awesome. Any like for people that are looking to start a new business, like what are some things that you remember early on in your career that you may remember back to of like, this is the one thing that really helped me like get my mindset right in terms of going from just working for people to being an entrepreneur?
That's a good question. You only live once. Life is short, and I tell everybody this. If you have that itch to do your own thing, do it. Because I used to work at Qualcomm, and everybody there spends 20 plus years, right? Essentially, you end up, spending their whole life there. But life is short. If you have the itch and the desire to do your own company, whether it's I don't know, whatever it is, right?
Sure.
Paintings, whatever it is, do it. So for me, the biggest thing that I would give a young entrepreneur is test out whatever it is you want to do. Make sure there's a market for that before you just quit your day job and start a new business, right? Make sure that there's a demand for whatever it is that you want to do. Test it in the marketplace before you quit your day job.
Right.
I'm a big proponent of the testing your MVP, which is your minimal viable product. So instead of building out whatever it is that you're doing and spend years of your time, building out that product or service that you want to sell, just test it in a small marketplace, right? Go out and find a couple friends and tell them your idea and see what they think. And then, just try it out in the marketplace before you go all out.
Sure. Yeah, I think finding the proof of concept is so important.
Exactly.
Right. And I think making, like, if you can get to a point, like if someone has a full-time job and your secondary job, let's say, is making you $10,000 a month, at that point, you have a proof of concept, right? Even 5,000, right? But it has to be something where you can replace your income and then jump all in. Because I think you can be an entrepreneur and have, like, I still have a full-time job. And I'm still like buying real estate on the side and have another business. And my other business makes far more than what I make at my full-time job.
Yeah.
But you can do that still. You'll have the ability to have time. So like for younger people listening, maybe you're not young. Maybe you are older and you want to be an entrepreneur and quit your day job. I think you can still create the time and the effort in the things that you're doing to create that other business and have that flourish without putting all your eggs in one basket right away.
Yeah.
But I think showing proof of concept. I know Alfred and I always talk about like making your first $10,000 as your stepping stone to becoming a $20,000 that turns into $30,000, then $50,000. And once you can show those proof of concepts, it's to scale to $100,000. You're just hiring more employees and just better systems.
Exactly. I mean, even with an established business, right? If you have a new project, a new idea, don't spend months building out a new lead magnet or whatever it is, right? Test it right away. And then, tweak it as you go, right? If it starts to get traction and you people like it, then continue to improve on it, right? One of the biggest things that I see that entrepreneurs do is they spend months building their website. Just do a quick little landing page, spend a day or a week and then just launch it, right? And then improve on it as you go.
It's funny you say that because I think logo design, like when entrepreneurs are starting a new business, they go out and they create a logo, they create a website, they create all these business cards. But in reality, go get sales.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly.
Like if it's a sales business or some type of creative, get clients first. You can do all the other stuff later.
Yeah.
Like you don't need to have business cards. You don't need to have a website. You don't need to have a logo first. But if like for you being experienced and opening up a new venture that's the same as what you've been doing, it makes sense. Branding it is important. But in the beginning, if someone has a full-time job, if it's a part-time thing, they don't need to do all that. They don't need to spend the money.
No.
So
yeah, people spend a lot of money and time on a logo and a website. Yeah, just go out there and find clients, find the business. Yeah.
Do you believe in like have you ever had a coach or a mentor?
Yeah, a couple.
Okay. That you paid for or that?
Yeah, well, one of them I paid for. Another one is just a free mentor.
Yeah.
A guy that I have a relationship with. He likes me, I like him.
Yeah.
He's an older guy. He's in the same space as I am, but he actually loves helping younger entrepreneurs.
When did you meet him?
I met him probably 5 years ago,
Okay.
6 years ago.
Cool.
Yeah, he started a real estate development company 10 years ago. He's a developer himself. He does, projects that are 150 units or more. He's kind of towards the end of his career, so he loves helping, young entrepreneurs like myself.
Right.
He's a San Diego State alumni, very heavily involved with all things San Diego State. Him and I were on the same committee that helped buy the Qualcomm property. And then he's heavily involved right now in the development of that property. So
awesome.
he helped raise money for the stadium, and he's still doing a lot of stuff there.
Nice. Are you constantly learning new things? Do you call him like weekly, or is it
I
like?
call him weekly.
Yeah.
Yeah, he lives in Point Loma. My office is in Point Loma. He's probably 2 minutes away from my office, so he comes down. We grab coffee probably
Nice.
once every other week. But anytime I have a little hurdle or anything before I move forward, I call him.
Yeah.
I'm a seasoned entrepreneur. I've been around the block, but he has a lot more experience than I do. So it's always good to have somebody like that on your side where you can just call him real quick and bounce an idea off of him.
Sure. I mean, I think we're constantly learning no matter where we are in our
Oh, yeah.
journey. Like, there's always new things, new regulations, new process in your business that you have to learn from.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we're doing projects that have 1 or 2 ADUs up to 10, but this guy's doing 150, 200 units,
Right, different.
so it's a whole different ballgame. So it's good to have mentors. If I can talk to a young entrepreneur, I would say find a mentor that has done what you're doing, and ask them for help. Don't be afraid to ask for help, because established entrepreneurs love helping ambitious, young, hungry entrepreneurs.
100% agree.
Yeah.
100% agree. I think it's hard when some people may approach it, like younger people may approach it at the wrong way, with asking for help or asking for advice. Something that I've just realized over the years is like someone adding value to you first, like, oh, how can I help? Like if I wanted you to be my mentor, how can I help you first, to where like maybe it was just like doing some stuff, right? Or bringing me a deal or bringing you a deal, that then it's like, okay, they're serious. They really want to pursue this career or this life.
Yeah, that's a perfect way to do it. That's kind of how I started with my mentor.
Right.
I told him I wanted to get into the development space here locally, even though I already had experience, but I didn't have a lot of experience here in San Diego. And I just said, hey, let me help you with whatever you need help with. And I did a couple of things for him here and there on the side. Not a lot, because obviously I had a full-time job, but he saw how hard I work and how much I wanted it. So that kind of allowed him to, or gave him the desire to help me more.
Sure.
Another quick little example, I have an intern right now that from San Diego State. He's on the football team. He's a tight end. His major is construction management. The guy reached out to me multiple times on social media. He's like, hey, I know you have a construction company. I want to help you. Fast forward a couple of months, called him, and the guy is amazing. And now that he's actually helping us, he brings a lot of value to the company. And he's still a student at San Diego State, and he probably works 10 to 15 hours on the company.
Right.
But for his age, it's amazing and kind of astonishing how helpful he has been to the company in a short amount of time.
Sure.
So I told him, I said, hey, if you keep working hard, you have a clear path to be a big player in this business.
That's something that I wish that I did earlier on, like in my I mean, when we were both younger. I'm 35 in January. But we didn't have a ways to learn like you can learn now, like with social media and the internet and all these things. So like when I was shadowing, like when I first got in the business, I was a realtor, right? So when I was shadowing, people like my dad or other agents, they just did things differently than what is done now. So I wish that I maybe was more involved in like the day-to-day stuff, or even hired a coach back then to learn, like fast track me into, much further along. Cause I think someone shadowing someone who has experience, they're going to gain so much knowledge, right? They're just going to eat it up. Like when you're there in the office and listening to you talk on the phone and going to projects and walking things and understanding construction and how things are done properly. So,
Yeah, I mean, back in the day when I was in college, I didn't have the avenues or opportunities that people have now, right? If you wanted to have an internship, you had to submit your resume and wait for them to call you back. There really wasn't social media back then. Now you can have direct access to the CEO of the business. That's if he ever reaches out
Response.
to you or responds on social media. But you have LinkedIn nowadays. There's just so many opportunities. If you really want it and you want to land an internship or a job, there's just a lot more ways to get that than back in the day.
I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. Any finishing thoughts?
No, just thanks for having me.
Of course.
I've known you for, 4+ years, man. And thanks for reaching out and asking
course.
me to be on your podcast, man.
Of course, brother. Where can everyone find you?
Instagram, JC_Mejia. My number, our company website is fabricgroup.com. Fabric is spelled with a K at the end, C and a K.
Cool.
But the best way to access me or reach out to me is social media.
Awesome.
So Instagram, yeah.
Cool, bro. Well, I appreciate you coming on. Thank you for everyone who has continued listening or watching. Please don't forget to subscribe, and we'll see you guys in the next video.